Hi everybody, Mrs. Findlay here. So we're going to do our starters for today, which you can see by a quick glance, they are fractions and decimals. So these are no calculator starters. So if you know what you're doing and just want to get on with it, you can pause the video just now. Otherwise, we'll start going through them. So the first one, 3/4 of 13.8 add 2.9. Be very careful, we need to use BODMAS here. When we are using BODMAS, we need to be careful and make sure that any brackets are done first, and then of, then dividing and multiplying, then adding and subtracting. So we can see that this of here needs to be done first. So if I just highlight that bit, so we're going to do this bit first, and then we're going to add 2.9 to the answer. Okay, so back to my normal pen. 3/4 of 13.8. So remember, we need to do 13.8 divided by 4, multiply our answer by 3. So 4 into 13 goes 3, remainder 1. Remember, I don't want you using a calculator for this. 4 into 18 goes 4 times, remainder 2. But remember, we need to add another 0 on there. So 4 into 20 goes 5. So just remember, when you're dividing at National 5 level, if you run out of digits to carry on to, like here, then you need to just be adding more zeros when you're already after the decimal point. Okay, so 13.8 divided by 4 is 3.45, so that's 1/4 of 13.8. So now we need to do 3.45 times 3. So 5 3s are 15, 4 3s are 12, add the 1, and 3 3s are 9, add the 1. We've got 2 decimal places in the question, so we need 2 decimal places in the answer, so that means a decimal point has to go there. So now what we've got, our 10.35 is the answer to 3/4 of 13.8, so now we're going to add the 2.9. So I'm just going to lose that line there and add 2.9. Remember, keep your decimal points lined up and fill in any spaces with zeros. So 5, 12, 3 and 1. So the answer is 13.25. Okay, next one, 1 3/4 times 4/7. So we're going to have to change this fraction here that's a mixed number. We're going to have to change that into an improper fraction. So we'll do that first. So remember, to change a mixed number into an improper fraction, the denominator is going to stay the same. We're going to change this into a number of quarters. So remember, in this whole one, there are 4 quarters. And we've got another 3 there. So we've got 7 quarters altogether. And we're going to multiply that by 4/7. Now we can either do top times top and put the answer on the top, and then do bottom times bottom and put the answer on the bottom, or we can do our simplifying, anything on the top with anything on the bottom, because we're multiplying. Okay, so we're going to do that. So when we do our simplifying, because we're multiplying, we can simplify anything on the top with anything on the bottom. So we've got a 7 on the top here, a 7 on the bottom, they'll cancel out. And then we've got a 4 on the top and a 4 on the bottom, so they also cancel out. So the answer though is not 0, because remember that what we're doing when we did our cancelling and our dividing, as we did it with this and this and this and this, remember here, for example, we're dividing top and bottom by 4. So what we haven't put in here is all the ones that we could have put. Okay, so effectively what we've got is 1/1, which is just 1. Okay, then we're going on to our last one. And again, B for brackets, that needs to be done first. So we need to do 2.9, add 1.9 before we do anything else. That's going to give us 4.8. Then we need to do 3.6, take away 4.8. But hold on a minute, that's going to give us a negative number, isn't it? So what we need to do is we can either just look at this and work it out in our head. I know a lot of you will just be able to spot that that's negative 1.2. Or what you can do when you've got a subtraction to do, when you're taking away more than you're starting with, then if you reverse the order, then you can change the sign at the end. Okay, so if we change that to 4.8, take away 3.6, that'll give us 1.2. And then we know that because it's been done the other way round, it would be negative 1.2. Okay, so negative 1.2 is the answer. Okay, so on with our main work for today. So I've just included here what we did yesterday. So what we did yesterday was multiplying a bracket by a single term. And we did simplify expressions involving multiplying brackets by a single term. So that was basically multiply out and simplify. And if you did the practice questions, you'll hopefully have had time to check them by now, because I've posted the answers today as well. So today what we're going to do is multiply two brackets together that have got two terms per bracket. Okay, so when in a question you see the word expand, it means exactly the same as multiply out. So your question might say expand and simplify just as easily as multiply out and simplify. Okay, so to expand two brackets, we're going to look at four different methods. So if you were with me before the holidays when we were doing this algebra, then hopefully you'll remember this anyway. So one of the ways is to use a table. So we'll look at that first of all. I've got four different questions for us to do, and we're going to do one or two methods per question. And what I would really like you guys to do is just think as we're going along which works best for you, because all our brains work in different ways. Some people like to set things out in tables whenever they can. Some people like to draw on it. Some people just imagine it. We're all different, so let's just see. If there's more than one way of doing it, as long as you are happy with one of the ways, then you stick with that. So the first way is a table. So what we're going to do is set up like a little multiplication table. Okay, and our first bracket, the y plus 3, is going to go across the top. So y and positive 3. Okay, the y minus 2 is going to go down the side here. But you've got to remember that 2 is negative. Okay, so now what we're going to do is fill in 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces in our multiplication table. So let's do that just now. There we go. So y times y is going in here. Okay, so we're going to put a y squared in there. Then in this space, we've got 3 times y, or y times 3, so that's going to give us 3y. In this space, we've got negative 2 times y, or y times negative 2, so be careful. We've got a negative times a positive there, so that's going to give us a negative answer, negative 2y. And then the answer that goes in here is 3 times negative 2, so that's going to give us negative 6. Okay, but we've not quite finished yet, because our answer should be given as an algebraic expression, not as just a little table of items. Okay, so what we can say here is, just a second, let me just rub those out. There we go. So we can say that this is equal to, we've got y squared here, and then collecting like terms, if you look, we've got a 3y and a 2y here, or a 3y and a negative 2y, should I say. So we've got 3y take away 2y, so that just gives us 1y, doesn't it? A positive y. Remember, we don't write the 1. And then the other thing that we've got is a minus 6. Okay, so using a table there, multiplication table, so one bracket across the top, one bracket down the side. Remember, be careful with your signs, and then you simplify to get your answer. Okay, so I'm going to show you the same question, but this time using the lines method. Okay, so this time I'll write the question out again. Y plus 3 times y minus 2. So when we're multiplying two brackets together, what we're trying to make sure is that everything in the first bracket has to multiply by everything in the second bracket. That's what we're aiming at. Okay, that's why the brackets are there. So what we can do to make sure that happens is we can make sure that this y multiplies everything in the second bracket, and that 3 multiplies everything in the second bracket. So by drawing those lines on, we can make sure that we are getting everything in the first bracket to multiply by everything in the second. So I'm just going to take those lines off just now, and we'll do them one at a time. So here we go. Right. Oops. So we're going to do y times y to start with. So that'll give us y squared. Then we're going to do y times negative 2. So that'll be negative 2y or minus 2y. Then the 3 has to multiply everything in the second bracket. So 3 times y, it's a positive 3 and a positive y. So that's plus 3y. And then the last line is to make sure the 3 is multiplying the negative 2, so that'll give us negative 6. And then we can see, when we're simplifying this, that we've got a negative 2y and a plus 3y here, so we've got y squared plus 1y minus 6. So, of course, this answer is the same as this one. That was always going to be the case, okay, because they're different ways of doing the same thing. All right, so that's 2 of our ways that we've looked at so far. We've looked at table and the lines. So next we're going to look at FOIL for the next example. Okay, oops, need to, next page. Oh, right, so we're going to use FOIL for this. So FOIL stands for firsts, outsides, insides, and lasts. Okay, so we've got the letters there from FOIL, and that's what they stand for. So our first term is going to be multiplying the first things in the brackets together. So the first thing in that bracket is the p, the first thing in that bracket is the 3p. So the first thing we're going to write down here is p times 3p, which is 3p squared. Then we're going to look at the outsides. So the outsides are the things in the brackets that are right at the outside. It's the things that are the furthest away from each other. So it's the p, which is positive, and the 5, which is also positive. So we're doing p times 5 for the outsides. So that's just going to give us positive 5p. Then for the insides, that's the things that are closest together. So it's this term and this term, because they're the insides of this question. So we've got a negative 4 times a positive 3p. So a negative times a positive, that's going to give us a negative. And 4 times 3p is 12p. Okay, so we've done the insides. Now we're looking at the lasts. So that's the last thing in both brackets. So it's the negative 4 times a positive 5. So a negative times a positive is going to give us a negative again. 4 5s are 20. So then we're going to simplify by collecting like terms. And we've got 3p squared. Then we've got plus 5p. Take away 12p gives us minus 7p. And then we've got minus 20. And that's our answer simplified as far as it'll go. Okay, so that's our FOIL method. Okay, and for this question I'll show you breaking the brackets as well. Breaking the first bracket, that's our last method here. If we have a look there, breaking the first bracket is the last method that we're going to look at. So what we do here, I'll just write the question out again. So we've got p minus 4 times 3p plus 5 And we're going to, if you were good at what we were doing yesterday, but this is troubling you a little bit, then you can multiply out two brackets by breaking the first one. What I mean by that is we're going to split our first bracket up into the positive p and the minus 4. Okay, so what we write there is p times the second bracket and then minus 4 times the second bracket. So what we've done here is we've taken this p minus 4 times this bracket and we've done p times that bracket minus 4 times that bracket. So what we've done here, you can just see that p minus 4 is our first bracket, which we've broken up, and we're multiplying both of those elements by 3p plus 5. So now we're back to the kind of work that we were doing yesterday. So we've got p times 3p is 3p squared. Then p times 5 is plus 5p. Then we've got minus 12p and minus 20. And it'll not be a surprise to see that this line is exactly the same as that line, because we're doing the same question. So our two middle terms here, the 5p and the minus 12p, will combine to give us minus 7p. So we've got 3p squared minus 7p minus 20, and that's the same as we would have got using any of those other methods. Okay, so two more examples. I've really put these ones in so that we can concentrate on the negatives a little bit. So for this one, I'm going to do this one using lines. Okay, so one at a time, we're going to use these lines. So first line is going to go here. So 2f times 3f is 6, and don't forget that that's f squared, not just f. Okay, the next line is 2f times negative 1, so that's negative 2f. Then the next line, we've got a negative 5 here times the positive 3f, so that's going to give us a negative 15f. And then we've got the negative 5 times a negative 1, don't forget that one's negative as well. So negative times a negative, the signs match, so that's positive. Okay, so altogether, when we simplify again, we've got 6f squared minus 2f minus 15f, so minus 17f altogether, and plus 5. So that's our answer for that one. And I'm not going to show you different methods for that one because any of them will give you the same 4 terms as we've got here, and they will all simplify to give you that. Okay, so one more to do, and again, we've got negatives in this one. Okay, and the thing that I've made different about this one as well is that the letter is the second thing in the brackets. It's not the first thing, so things will pop out in a different order this time. Okay, so let's do this one with a table. Oops, and a pen, not a pointer. Right, so we need a multiplication table. 7 minus r there, and 2 minus r there. So remember, these negatives are very important. So in this space here, we're doing 2 times 7, or 7 times 2, so that's going to give us 40. In this space here, we've got 2 times negative r, so we've got negative 2r. In the space here, bottom left, we're multiplying 7 and negative r, so that's going to give us a negative again, 7r. And then in this last space here, we're doing negative r times negative r. So a negative times a negative, the signs match, the answer is positive. R times r is r squared. Okay, so we're still finding in this case that it's the terms that are in these positions that are going to combine and simplify. That's not always the case. It depends whereabouts the letters are in the brackets. Okay, so altogether we've got... Now, when we write these terms, we normally write them with the highest power first. So that would be our r squared going first, because 2 is the highest power of anything that we've got here. Okay, so we're going to start off with our r squared, and then we're going to put our r's. So we've got a negative 2r here, and a negative 7r there. So we've got a negative 9r altogether. And then we've still got a plus 14. So that's our answer. So if you like to lay things out in tables, you might pick this method, but bear in mind that when we compare that one to, say, that one, or even FOIL, then we've got quite a lot more written down, haven't we, in this one? So if you were using FOIL though, you wouldn't write firsts out, you wouldn't bother to write firsts, outsides, insides, last, etc. All you need to do, you can write FOIL at the side, or you don't even need to write it, you can just remember it. So if you were doing this question, same one, then you can go, right, firsts, so this one and this one. So that'll be 14. And then outsides, so it's this one and this one. So you've got negative 7r, etc. Okay, you don't need to write first, outsides, insides, lasts, and you don't even need to write FOIL if you can remember it. Okay, so we're going to leave it there for today, and I'm going to give you things to practice, questions to practice that are just like what we've done today. So tomorrow we're going to push our multiplying brackets together a little bit further and look at what happens when we've got more than 2 things in the brackets. Okay, so I will see you guys tomorrow. So good luck with the work. Again, as usual, just get in touch if you're not sure about anything. See you later.